Hello everybody and welcome back to the Placement Diary. The microphone is in the correct place this time, so you'll actually be able to hear me throughout, which is helpful. And today I'm recovering the past 3 days. That's Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday of the final week of me in placement. I have to say I'm quite looking forward to placement ending, not because I'm not enjoying it as such, but it's a lot of, pressure to be under, and it'll be good once it's, in the bag, as it were. So, starting off with Tuesday, we had arrived, circle time, register, hello song, day and weather, the usual, free play, group time, joint outside, lunch, story quiet time, outside time, group time in the back garden, free play, and then home. So the weather was ridiculous on Tuesday. Wow is all I can say. It was absolutely roasting and it took a lot out of all the children. So here we go. Today was an absolute scorcher in the nursery. Summer has definitely arrived. The day started as always with the register. Yep, okay. However, I broke the routine a little to talk to the children about Friday. I explained that Friday would be my last day with them, and this made a few of them sad. As horrible as it sounds, I find it reassuring that children don't want me to leave, as this means that they have enjoyed the time they have spent in my company. I have spent in their company, rather. It also allowed me to see just how much of an impact I've had on them, thereby letting me know that they have engaged with my inputs. I think that's a fairly strong enough conclusion to come to. The children seem like they are going to miss me, and that's a good thing in my opinion. After sampling a few ideas for a going away party, I have decided to do musical bumps as well as circle games and maybe stories. None of the ideas were mine, so hopefully this will result in maximum enjoyment from the children. Here's hoping. During the first Oh, excuse me, sorry, I'm so bunged up with the cold right now. I have to take a sip of juice here. I apologise for drinking straight from the bottle as well. Okay. During the first free play section, I decided to supervise the tables in the main area. This proved to be interesting from both an observational and educational standpoint. I was able to observe the children being creative with the toys and models they were constructing, and I was also able to help them work together to build more complex models based on pictures. So, taking a back seat to it, but also getting involved to help the children make more complex things that they otherwise maybe would have struggled with, I want to say. So that's fine. First group time resulted in an amalgamation of 2 or 3 groups to make use of the glorious weather. The groups I helped try that again. The groups that I helped to plan for went into the front garden to hunt for bugs. I made this a little more accessible for the children by placing a white blanket on the ground and shook a tree. So basically I put a blanket underneath a tree, shook it, and then all the bugs fell out so the children could have a look. They all seem to be fairly thrilled by this activity. I'm so sorry, I don't know what's happening with my throat right now. Some even protested when we decided to go back inside. After lunch, we decided to take all the children into the front garden. The staff thought it would be useful to take advantage of the weather while it lasted. The children were desperate to get some fresh air as well. This carried over into the second iteration of group time, where we once again merged the groups in order to meet the wants of the children. This ultimately resulted in the majority of them digging in the mud, which they really, really enjoyed. Okay, so that was day 27. Not a huge amount to report on, but it's getting there. Let's see what else we have. I closed everything. No, I haven't. Day 28 was Wednesday. I know I'm fairly flying through this, but if I'm being honest, I have quite a bit to do in terms of preparation for tomorrow, so I'm trying to keep this short and sweet. Arrive, circle time, register, hello song, day and weather, the usual. Free play, staff meeting, lunch, story quiet time, petting zoo, group time yellow, free play and home. So a pretty eventful day all in all. Today I find myself feeling a little bit less than 100% in the nursery. This seemed to be down to a lack of sleep and an upset stomach. So on Wednesday I was not doing good. I think this is probably why I'm still bunged up, but a lack of sleep, not from my own personal terrible sleep pattern at all. Mostly what happened is it's Tuesday night in Dundee, and Tuesday nights tend to Students go out to the student union for the Tuesday night out, and they're very noisy, and I live in a complex where there are literally thousands of them. So it's not ideal, especially not when you're on placement. It's never really had much of an impact thus far, but this week it really did hit home. I tried my absolute best to not let it affect my practice. However, there were some points throughout the day where I was noticeably not myself. The children were even beginning to notice. You were like, "Are you okay?" sort of thing. And it's a bad thing, but I wouldn't want to stay off. I wouldn't want to miss a day of placement. And it was interesting for the children to see me in a different light as well. During free play, I had the chance to once again look over the main area. This gave me the chance to assist the children in their play, as well as generally socialise with them. After this, the ladies and I had a chance to stage our staff meeting. This was a generally positive meeting where we as a group managed to meet the majority of the weekly targets. It was good. I also mentioned again about my what are they called? Surveys. There we go. And it seems like every member of staff has completed one, which was really helpful. During free play, I had the chance to once again look over the main area. This gave me a chance to assist the children. Oh no, I've already read that. In the afternoon, I helped to take some children out to the petting zoo in the union. Unfortunately, many of the students who were also attending were very arrogant and felt the need to push past the kids. So, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Fully grown adults were kind of not pushing physically, but almost to the point where they were pushing the children out the way so they couldn't see the pet rabbits because they thought they were stressed with exams. You can tell there's a bit of a monkey on my back about that one, because I know that I personally would go out of my way to let children in front of me, and I think that's just the height of arrogance. You're bringing these children up here to see iguanas and bunnies and chickens, and one of the children, child G, didn't get a chance to see anything at all because of the students all pushing past. So take from that what you will. But yeah, pretty good day all in all. The petting zoo was really well received. The children all loved to see these animals. They love to see them. They love to pet them. They love to just be around them in general, and it kept them really happy. So that might be something that the nursery will look into in the future as well. Whether it be getting in contact with the same company and bringing them to the nursery, or taking on a new weekly topic of just animals and things like that. The children loved it though, for what they had a chance to see. Day 29 was today. I don't think I have very much written for this yet because I had to stay outside. No, I have one sentence. Today was the penultimate day of my placement, and is all I've got written for this. Okay, so arrived, circle time, register, hello song, day and weather, free play, took the yellow group, lunchtime, took the story and quiet time, outside, group time, free play and home. So let's just see if I can run through today. There was a lot of outside play despite the bad weather, which was good because the children do need that fresh air. I managed to take the main area again to look over. No, sorry, I took the quiet room today, which was really useful because the children were all just kind of sitting talking to me as well. They were playing away with their toys. It was good to interact with them on a personal level while they were playing, and I also kind of got involved sometimes. They were playing sort of dress up games, and I think one of them was meant to be Rapunzel, and I was giving it the whole Rapunzel, let down your hair thing. The kids love that. They love it when you interact with them on their personal level, so I found that useful, and they seemed to enjoy it as well. The computer was on a lot. That was fine. They really enjoy playing games on the computer. They really like the CBeebies website. I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but the educational games on there, you can hear them imitating the content whenever there's like a quote that happens on one of the games. I think one of them is still not big enough, and they go around these going still not big enough, and they think this is hilarious, but it's letting them know the difference in sizes, and ultimately it is really teaching them to do something. So that was fine for the free play. During group time, I had the yellow group. I took them to make spiders. There was a mixed group time that was started with our group leader on Wednesday when I was asked to take over for the Thursday while she wouldn't be there. So I thought, yeah, that's absolutely fine. They already had their spider started. Basically, they took eggshells, cut them out, not eggshells, egg cartons, cut them out, and then painted them black, and then poked holes through them to make spiders' legs and 2 googly eyes. A bit like what I did with the paper plates, only just a little bit different. and they seemed to really enjoy that as well, although the activity didn't last as long as we thought, so we had to actually put out some toys to kill a little bit of time before lunch. But you know, all in all, they made the models came out great, and they loved it. So at the end of the day, if it ended a little bit quickly, it's not a huge deal. The children got what they wanted out of it, they got what they needed out of it, and they got the enjoyment that they had out of it. So I was more than happy just to kind of cut it short a little bit, because some of the children were getting restless. Now, one of the many child L's today, the same one that I had to discipline the other day, I also had to discipline again today during quiet time. And that's when I've began to sort of lose faith in the guidance approach to discipline for this child anyway. I'm not a huge believer in... Sorry, I'm sitting on something here. A huge believer in the guidance approach to discipline for, you know, as like a solution to behaviour management. I believe it's a good strategy, and I believe that it has its place, and definitely in a nursery environment I can see where it has its place. But for some of the children, and for some children throughout life, I believe it's just not something that's going to work. This child L here, just, you know, completely just disobeyed everything that I said. I say obey, that's a really outdated saying, but you know, he just completely disregarded every comment I made, everything I asked him to do. So I removed him from the circle and put him up against a chair up against the wall, away from everyone. Because that's what I've been told to do. That's the way that the nursery deals with us. We don't shout at the children, we don't tell the children that they've been bad, you know, things like that. But you let them know that they're wrong by secluding them, is kind of the way that it works. And you're supposed to suggest that the children apologise, you know, you don't force anything. So I can see how that would work, and I could see, instead of saying you're bad because you're bad, you're saying, you know, you're bad because look at how you've made your friends feel. Great. For a lot of the children in nursery, that is fantastic. But for a select few, maybe 10-20%, it doesn't work. And I don't think it will ever work. This one child who I'm talking about just now, who I've had to do this to twice this week, is leaving for school. And that's not good. Personally, I would keep him in the nursery for another year. Now, that's my personal opinion. I have no say in the matter. But personally, I think he could do with another year in nursery to sort of mature, to grow up a little bit before he goes to school. But the parents have decided that that's not in their best interests. Now, I know for a fact that the child's brother has been diagnosed with ADHD, and I would really, really dislike that child to be misdiagnosed just because, you know, the child is a little bit misbehaved. Because I've seen instances where this child has sat down, he's participated in the work, he's been my best friend, you know, he's been brilliant, and he's contributing, and he's occupied, and he goes into depth with his conversation about things that he's really interested in. Batman, for example, is his big thing. He loves Batman, and he will sit and he will talk to you day in and day out about Batman, and that's great. You can see that he's developed an interest in something, and we try to incorporate that as much as we can in the nursery. To an extent, because we can't be just doing Batman all the time, other children would get sick of it. But for this one child, we try our best to sort of implement that into a lot of things, and that's great. That's fantastic. But other things, when it doesn't take his interest, he just decides to play up. Now, whether that's because he gets away with it at home, I can't mention that. You know, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors, and it'd be unfair for me to make assumptions like that. But it does seem that the child doesn't really get the concept of discipline, as it were. Because as soon as you take him out of the circle, he'll be smiling, he'll be laughing, and then he'll try and disrupt himself in the corner. You know, if you put him in the corner in the chair, he'll start swinging from the chair, he'll start hanging underneath the chair, and at that point, you know, I personally would like to shout at the child. Not to belittle the child, not to scare the child off, not to let him know that he's a terrible person, nothing like that, but just to give the child a fright, you know, so that they know that that's wrong, and this is what will happen if they do that. It's not a scare tactic as such, it's more of just a disciplinary action so that the child knows that that's not okay. Now, that's the sort of thing that's going to happen when he goes to school, I'd imagine. Of course, every school's behaviour management policy is different, but, you know, I want this child to have the best start possible. I don't want him to go into school and then be completely misdiagnosed with ADHD. Again, I'm not a health professional. I can't decide whether this child does or doesn't. But based on experience I've had seeing children with ADHD, the sort of symptoms don't really add up to me. He can hold his attention. His behaviour is iffy, that's fine, but that's the sort of thing that I believe can be ironed out. And we're trying really hard, but the strategy that's in place just now just doesn't seem to be working. Now, I've gone off on a massive tangent again, as I'm oft wont to do, but there we go. I just thought I'd put my 2 pence in for this. Kind of less professional than most of the other things I've been talking about here, but it's something that's really quite personal to me. The whole being diagnosed with ADHD thing. I've seen my friends when I used to go to school, 1 or 2 of them were diagnosed with ADHD, and I believe they were misdiagnosed. I believe that they just, they were chancing their luck. They were in high school. They were, the bad boys of the group sort of thing, and they thought they were Neds. They were watching, the older kids. They wanted to be like them, and they thought they were fantastic. And then they were diagnosed with ADHD, and I mean, they were on Ritalin, and I just saw them completely just crash and burn. And then just the promise that they showed. These were really bright children, but they just kind of fell in with the wrong crowd, as it were. Now, whether this is due to Ritalin alone, again, I can't say, but I noticed a massive behavioural shift, they would just be drowsy and they'd be sleepy all the time, and it kind of changed them as people, and I didn't like it at all. I didn't like seeing that happen to people that, I did care about at the time. They were in my circle of people that I cared about. They were my classmates, and just seeing them completely get fall off the radar like that, I thought was really bad. Now, that's not to say that Ritalin can't help people who are on ADHD. I know stories of people. Sorry, I don't know personally people, but I know stories of people who have been diagnosed with ADHD. They've got the medicine, they've got the pills and stuff, and they've been taking them, and it's completely changed their life for the positive. They've calmed down. They're able to control their thoughts. They're able to condense all of this, buzzing that's going on in their head constantly, into a positive energy in which they can use to focus in on a task and work. Because that's really what the problem is with ADHD, isn't it? It's there's the struggle to focus. And yeah, that's all great, but I think there's quite a lot of misdiagnosed cases. That's my opinion, from what I've seen. But anyway, let's get off this topic before I end up maybe getting myself in trouble of sorts. So yeah, I tried to discipline the child. Again, no avail. He just didn't really care. And then once he integrated back into the group, yeah, his behaviour kind of improved, but there was no negative consequence for this child. Anywho, moving swiftly onward, we went to group time. The second time, where we decided, what did we do for second group time now? It was something pretty good, I remember. Something pretty good. Did we go out into the front garden? No, we went to the quiet room. That's what it was. We went to the quiet room for second group time. Now, me and the secondary practitioner, we had planned to take them out into the back garden and continue constructing their Bugs hotel that they've been working on. Now that was the plan, but weather permitting, of course, it had been pouring down with rain. It was absolutely soaking in the back garden. There was no way we were going out there. The children would be covered in mud. So we had to quickly change our plan. He says, well, why don't we let the children go into the supply cupboard and pick what they want, because that gives them the ability of choice. I thought, yeah, absolutely, that sounds like a great idea. So we did that. The children picked to do the bone skeleton. Pardon me, it's a skeleton puzzle where there's all the different parts of the skeleton. It all fits together. It's a big foam puzzle. The dress-up box came out, and so did the baby dolls. What are they called? Yeah, it's the dolls, isn't it? The dolls of babies. Those were out, so that was really good. I had a chance to really interact with the children there. I lay down and they put the skeleton pieces on top of my face so that they could see a visual representation of what it should be instead of just looking at the box. And they actually managed to construct it, which was quite funny. And then at some points they just ended up jumping on me, so there you go. Kids will be kids, I suppose. But it was good fun. They all seemed to enjoy it as well. And then after that, it was free play, where I went through and I helped some of the children again construct the models. That's become a thing that they've constantly been asked me to do. Not the same children all the time, actually, just various children saying, "Ewan, can you help us make this model here and point it in the picture?" And that was fine. I was happy to do that with them. We made a pyramid, we made a massive prism tower. We made a dodecahedron, which is an amazingly complex shape to pronounce. But there you go. So yeah, really good 3 days. How am I feeling about tomorrow? I don't know. I'm completely mixed with emotion. I'm relieved that placement's going to be over, because it's not even that it's been hard work, it's just been mentally demanding, because there's so much going on in the nursery. There's not, the staff to child ratio is legally correct, but reality wise, it's not ideal. There's maybe like 7 or 8 staff to about 40 children. Is that right? Does that add up? I don't know. I'm kind of stabbing in the dark with figures here, but that's difficult, because the children are constantly needing your attention, and to be in a room where there's just this constant buzz, this constant noise, and then when one child's like coming up to you and cuddling in and trying to like grab your arm and stuff, and you tell them to go and find something to do because you're busy or you've got other things to see or other children to see to, they'll go away, and then seconds later another child will be up. It's just this constant cycle of attention that you need to give out. And it's not even like, you can't just say, no, these children are important. We are there for them, as it were. So we can't just turn around and say, no, go and find someone else to deal with your problems. No, you deal with it there and then. And that's fine. I mean, that's obviously why we're there. We're there to look after the children. We're there to help them learn through their play. But we're there to support them, and we're there to be there for them. We're there to comfort them. There's so much that goes into this role that I had absolutely no idea about. Before I came to this placement, I thought nursery was all about changing nappies and setting up toys. I mean, that was pretty much it. I knew that the people who worked there worked hard, and that's fine. I had every right to assume that. I knew that they would be hard-working people, but I just didn't realise how much actually goes into the role of a nursery practitioner. Just on a daily basis, you're coming in, you put all your stuff away, you go outside with the children, you set up all the toys for them, you then supervise their areas, you then help them tidy up all the toys, and then they go to a circle. You then help them go out again and set out more toys, to then take them for a group time that you've planned, and amongst all this, of course, that you've had the time to sit down and plan based on the curricula, whether that's pre-birth to 3 for the younger, or curriculum for excellence for the older. And then after that, you've got to carry out your activity with flair, with passion. You've got to be excited about this activity, or the children just won't engage. Once that's done, you've got to send them through to get ready for lunch. Who gets them ready for lunch? You get them ready for lunch. You put the apron on, you put out all the lunch boxes, and then you put out all the sandwiches, and then if children need a hand to eat, you feed them. If children are misbehaving, you go and speak to them. If children need things opened, you open them. The children want a drink, you go and get them a drink. So that's pretty hectic. Then you have your own lunch. I know that a lot of the staff get a lunch for an hour, but myself, I only get lunch for half an hour, which isn't really enough, but again, I do less hours, so it works out fine for me. So say I go for my half an hour lunch, and then I come back, children are still eating, so you go back to helping the children with their lunch, and then you help them get all packed up. Then they go to the bathroom, and then there's a member of staff, say this is you, there's a member of staff that's on bathroom who has to change all the nappies, has to make sure all the children have gone to the toilet, has to make sure the children's hands are all washed and cleaned, and then send them back through for a little bit of play. So when lunch has been going on, you're also setting out more toys, different toys, so it's not all the same. And once that's done, you put all those away, you sit the children down, then it's story time. If say you're reading the story that day, you have a floor full of close to 40 children that you are having to keep engaged in reading a book. Not easy. Definitely not easy. You have the support of the members of staff around you, but trying to keep those children settled for that amount of time, it's crazy. It's difficult. And then once that's done, you send them away to play again. You could take them outside. Sometimes they go outside at this point. But if the weather's rubbish, you have to stay inside, and then the children get even more antsy. It's a massive free play. Then you take them for a second group time, which you've also somehow planned in amongst all this time after tidying everything up, and you have to deliver that with just as much enthusiasm as the one 3 hours ago. And then once that's done, it's a free play all the way to the end of the day where there's a second circle, and then you have to wait on the parents. Now the parents are obligated to come at a certain time, but that's not to say they won't come late. And then your day ends at about 6 o'clock for some of the practitioners anyway. 5:30, 6 o'clock ish. It's madness. And amongst this, you've got to do all the dishes from lunch. You've got to clean the nursery. The cleaners come in to do the floors and stuff, but you've got to wipe down all the surfaces, wipe down the tables. You can't have germs spread in. You have to disinfect the toys. Everything gets cleaned in Milton because you don't want the children to be unwell. It's madness. I had no idea, and I know that was a huge list of things. I think I've covered almost everything. But if there's an accident, you have to form an accident report. If there's an incident, you have to form an incident report. You have to make sure the parents see this. You have to deal with children who have hurt themselves. You have to comfort children who are crying, children who are missing their mums and dads. How do you deal with that? You just have to say, they're coming soon and hug them. It's mental, honestly. I know I've sort of rambled a bit here, but it's absolutely insane how much work that these women do. Women and men, but in this one nursery, women. And for what they're getting paid. I mean, you've seen nursery. If you've not seen the nursery sort of practitioner price band, wage band, have a Google, have a look on Job Seekers Direct or something, and just see how little they're getting paid to do this amount of work. And I mean, of course, they've got their new pay rise, this 1%, which is kind of laughable in the grand scheme of things. It's great. It's great. It's positive. It's not a cut. It's a rise. But for the amount of work that they're doing, it's nuts. I mean, I've worked jobs before. Before I came to uni, I worked some weird jobs. I worked for a telecommunications a label manufacturer as a telesales executive, and I worked in a pawn shop where they gave out microloans and stuff. Both of those jobs, I worked hard. I worked my hardest. I worked nowhere near as hard as these two women do, and I made not a significant, but quite a bit more money than they make. So you must have to do it for the love of the job, and hats off to them. They've been a fantastically supportive staff base. Two of the members of staff are about ages with me, and they're fully qualified, and that's so good. Like I couldn't physically see myself doing that for the rest of my life. I don't think I would be a fantastic nursery practitioner. I think I'd be okay at the job, but I think it would affect my real life too much. I think I'd get sucked in and I get really stressed, and just it wouldn't be for me. Primary school, on the other hand, where the children are a little bit older, and I'm getting lesson plans. It's structured. You're putting the children at the centre of the learning, but you also have that level of control where they're not playing all the time, they're not always hitting the roof. There's that level of discipline where if things go badly, the children can be punished and they can feel really bad about it to the point where they won't want to do it again. That's where I think I lie. I think that's where I should be. I don't really see myself being a nursery practitioner at all, and this placement has opened my eyes to that. It's opened my eyes to quite a lot of things. It's let me see the importance of putting children at the centre of your learning. I've seen from experience at this nursery placement an activity that I planned based on my thoughts of what the children might like kind of bombed, and then when I planned based on their interest that they have told me, soared. And the workload was just completely different and completely better for a poor choice of tired words. But there you go. I think that's all I have to say about this just now. Thank you a lot for listening to my rant again. I've made it to half an hour for some reason, but absolutely no reason to. But there you go. And I will see you tomorrow for what will be the final reflection. Hopefully I won't ramble on too much for that, but I will do my best to condense as much as possible. Thank you so much, and I will see you tomorrow. Happy last day.